Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Lessons with Cheri. I hope you had an amazing week. We are rounding out the month of May. It's my birthday week, turning 54 on the 28th, the day you are listening to this episode, hopefully. And I am feeling good. I feel like there are still some things in my life I could improve, of course, but I feel when I look at others who are 54, look at people and all of the things I've accomplished in all my 54 years, I feel good. So happy birthday to me. Having said that, I also had an opportunity to go celebrate some of my former students this week, graduations, promotion ceremonies, all of the things. Celebrate with my kids that I'm tutoring right now. I have a tutor business as well, and they're making so much progress. And, when you think about people, kids in particular, at this stage of life where they feel like they were on top of the world. My three little boys that I'm tutoring, I also have a few adults working on their GED, but my little students, I have two first graders and a fourth grader. And when I talk to them and we reflect on when we first started together, we started in October of 2024 and it's now May. And this school year is wrapping up and we're planning for summer school and all of the things. They're all so amazed at how much growth they have made. And even yesterday, working with my one of my GED clients, I told him, I said, I can tell that you're making a lot of progress. And he said, I do feel like I am progressing, like I am being more successful. And that's what it's all about, right? But when you think about the outlook that kids have at that stage in life, the graduation I went to yesterday is my best friend's son, and she adopted him when he was in first or second grade. I can't remember, but he became my student as a third grader. And seeing the look in his eye when he spoke about his future and what he plans to do and how he wants to go out into the world and just make a difference, it's just so contagious, right? It makes you leave out feeling like, wow, maybe I really can conquer the world. Maybe even at 54, there's still so many things that I could accomplish and learn and have an impact on. So I don't know if it's just me, I'm such a nerd, but that's the feeling I got yesterday leaving out. Having said that, though, I also had another feeling leaving out. I saw a former employee who now has a different principal, and the words from this employee were, I wanted to see you. I'm so glad I got to see you. We all miss you. And what you don't realize is you are missed more than you know. And I said, ooh. And at first I thought, oh, that's really kind and that's really sweet. But then as I was leaving out and taking my drive back, it was a couple-hour drive each way to this graduation, I was reflecting on that. And I was thinking, wow, not just did I have an impact on my staff, but maybe, and I know where this is coming from because I know some of the behind the scenes kinds of things. And I'm going to be real with y'all here and a bit raw and a little bit controversial. I know I was doing leadership right. Was I right 100% of the time? No, I made mistakes. I'm human. But the way I treated people mattered to me. It still matters to me. I wouldn't have been reflecting on that if that hadn't resonated with me and stayed on my mind, even after spending time with friends and laughing and giggling and seeing the kid after he graduated and all the things, because it makes a difference. And not every leader approaches leadership like this. And it brought me back to a conversation I was having with one of the assistant principals on my campus. And this is the end of her first year as an assistant principal. And she's actually leaving, going on to something different. And she has a few options. She can go back into the classroom, she can be an instructional specialist, or she can go back into an assistant principal role. And she said, people don't think about what kind of work it takes to be great after you land the job. She said, I worked so hard to get the job. And now I don't know if I want to continue to learn those skills to stay in this role. And it wasn't anything, it's not a ugliness to her or what she's thinking. It's her own honest feelings. Because that's exactly what we say as strong leaders. It takes a lot to get the role, to get the title. Not that you have to have the title if you listen to last week's episode, but it takes a lot of work to get there. But what we don't realize is it takes just as much, if not more, to do it well, to move from there. Because that first skill set got you the position. It's not going to get you the success in the position, if that makes any kind of sense. And all of this coming together as I was driving back last evening, it hit me what this week's podcast is going to be about. Because we have to learn how to lead with respect. And that is not something they teach us in college. It is not something that we just learn in order to get into the position. It's something that we have to experience the position, but also live with integrity. Strive for excellence in what we do as leaders. Have a commitment to our people, because leadership isn't just about checking off a list. It's not just about managing data and the status quo. It's about empowering your people and engaging your people and motivating your people and helping your people be their best. I think back to when I first became a principal and I had all the things to learn. I think everything fell into my 3 Ps, and it's kind of a framework for what I use. One, of course, it's programs. What do you offer? What are your services? Who are your clients, right? The programs, what do you give to the world? For me, of course, it was schooling, effective schooling, schooling that helped kids be successful. And then politics. We know public education is so political right now, but everything is political right now, right? Everybody has a stance on something. And if you say something right or wrong, you're going to be known for it, especially as a business owner or a leader in an organization, no matter what your service is. But my 3rd P is your people. And when you get those 3 things right, you will be on fire. But you can't do any of those things without respect. So let's back up. If we think about the P's, programs, we need to be respectful with the programs. What does that mean? We need to use them with fidelity. We need to design them with fidelity. We need to implement them with fidelity. I know for me, working in education, we have this reputation of we're changing things all the time. This was something I heard from teachers, probably said as a teacher. Let's just develop something, implement it, figure out the kinks, and keep going with this before we just determine that we want to change something. That doesn't always happen that way in education, right? We're always trying to fix things quickly. But it's the respect for the program. I designed a program for my schools as I became this turnaround leader with school-wide management. And it was very, very intricate. All of the scenarios, all of the pieces. If you were a teacher that came to work for me, you were basically handed this kit. And if you had the respect for this program and you implemented it with fidelity, there was no question that you would be successful. Now, did it happen that way the very first time I developed the program? No, it didn't, because I had to work on it and work out the kinks and all of the things. But that was 30 years of work putting it together, thinking about it in college, how I was going to manage a classroom, thinking about it as a classroom teacher, learning from the people that were my mentors and that were leaders within my organization as I was moving up into the school leadership role. It had to have a lot of refinement, a lot of work, a lot of back and forth, a lot of failure. A lot of success, figure out what works and what doesn't, right? But when you can implement something with respect, it means you're doing it by the book, you're doing it the way it's designed to do, and you're doing it for a long enough time to know it's working. How do we approach politics with respect? Number one, someone asked in a networking this morning, how do you put yourself out there without getting yourself in a position where you can't answer or you're being judged? And I said, you have to know your audience. You have to know what you stand for, but you also have to know what your response to things, what kind of ripple effect that's going to have. I could definitely speak about every experience in my life in a way that's completely transparent, but just because someone might have done me wrong doesn't mean I want to put them under the bus, because that's respect. Just because I may or may not agree with a decision that you made doesn't mean I'm going to go out there and slander you in front of a whole lot of people, because that's respect. And just because someone makes a mistake doesn't mean that you dwell on that mistake and you tell everybody about that mistake and you can't get past that mistake and you totally write that person off, because that's respect. And all of those things are very political. Whether you're talking about politics with the president, politics with state regulations, politics within your own organization, or just politics of life. Life is political. You take a stance, you believe in things, but it's how you convey those messages and how you do it with respect that makes the difference. And then finally, your people. And politics and people, they're going to intertwine. But more importantly, if you sign up to be a leader, and this was an episode a couple weeks ago that I led to this, you need to know you are responsible for your people. And it's not just for their work, it's for their well-being. Not every person is going to be successful. You're not going to keep everybody. But even if you are telling somebody no, you do it with respect. I always go back to this, and I think this was so big when I was in elementary school for sure. The golden rule. Our teachers always said, would you want to have someone treat you like you were treating someone else? And I found myself as a teacher in the classroom saying the same thing to my students, and as a principal saying the same thing to my teachers and my students. I've used it with my daughter. If you don't want to be treated that way, don't treat others that way. Having a conversation with my sister yesterday, she said the phrase, two wrongs don't make a right. And this is so true. But the bottom line, and my main message for this week, y'all, if you choose leadership, you need to choose respect. I've seen some really great leaders fail from this. And I've seen some really mediocre leaders excel because of this. It doesn't mean you have to like everybody. And it doesn't mean you have to let everybody get their way. But it does mean you approach everything with fidelity, integrity, and doing right with dignity. All right, y'all. That's everything I have for today. I hope you have an amazing week. Hopefully this was helpful. Pass it on if it was. So excited about new programs coming out that I'll be announcing on next week's show. And actually, I'll announce those before next week's show airs, but next week's show is actually going to be a podcast I was a guest on a few months ago that has recently been released, and I want to share that interview because it was so good. And I think it's going to be extremely helpful for any leader out there, whether you're in the school space or in any other type of field. So get ready for that. All right, see y'all next week, right back here on Leadership Lessons with Cheri.